Ekene Ndulwe in our first report provides insight into Nigeria's battle to kill corruption.
For several decades now, Nigeria has been battling with the issue of corruption, which has been severally attributed as the major factor militating against economic development and social cohesion in the country. Successive administrations have made efforts to stem this vice, but results show how endemic it has become.
Before the coming of this government, corruption was a pandemic. Now it is endemic. We hope in the near future it's going to become infectious.
Statistics from the Transparency International for year 2021 show that Nigeria ranks 154 out of 180 countries, making it the second most corrupt country in West Africa after Guinea, which is ranked 150 on the global index. So much of the country's success depends on how effective the fight against corruption is, and it is for this reason that the Buhari administration established the Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption with the mandate to advise the president on how best to tackle corruption in the country. Professor Sadiq Rada is the executive secretary of this committee, and he believes reforms introduced under the present administration have largely brought about a high level of accountability in public offices.
The government believes if we want to improve security in Nigeria and we want to revamp the economy, then we must fight corruption, because without fighting corruption, you cannot in any way provide security to the people. You cannot improve the economy. That is why giving security, revamping the economy will naturally involve the fight against corruption. And when this government came into power, 2015, it made good its promise. Among many other things was the establishment of the Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption to give intellectuals and sound advice to the president on how best to tackle corruption. Now, as a committee, we have done a lot within Nigeria, and we have done a lot outside Nigeria regarding the fight against corruption. We have partnered with the anti-corruption agencies, and I mean EFCC, ICPC, Code of Conduct Bureau, NIT, TUGA, NFIU. We have all worked with them, and we have made a lot of progress. We have brought about a number of reforms in Nigeria. Then we have had series of engagements outside the country, and that's why you see us recovering money from abroad. There is now this belief that, unlike in the past, something is being done regarding corruption in Nigeria. So in broad, you can say that the government made promises to Nigerians that corruption will be fought, security will be improved, economy will be improved, and efforts are being made, to fulfill those promises. Whether it is being done to the satisfaction of every Nigerian or not is a different matter. But the bottom line is the government has never lost sight of the need to fight corruption in Nigeria since the beginning and up till today.
The use of technology is a big step in ensuring transparency in governance, but analysts note that there is little technology can do if people of integrity are not in positions of authority.
Ministries, departments, and agencies of government were having series of accounts. The government introduced what is called the TSA, Treasury Single Account. So all government money is concentrated in TSA. The government introduced EPs, where people are paid their salaries using that platform. Many ghost workers have been weeded out. There are still problems, but then we have made some achievement. There is what is called Transparency Portal, where Nigerians can monitor government spending. There is the bank verification number, where you cannot have serious accounts without synergy between the accounts. So a lot of innovative ways have been brought on board to ensure that reforms are implemented and people can be held to account. And as you can see, because of the reforms, it's now fairly possible for us to monitor what is going around within the financial sector, because we are now part of the Egomont group.
We need to start incentivizing good deeds, because if you look at the fabric of our society, it has eaten deeper into corruption. So we need to start identifying people who, irrespective of all the pressure, they still choose to do the right thing. So we need to recognize them and incentivize them. This will send a message to society and say, if you're manning some of this initiative deployed by government, you must do the right thing, even if no one is watching you. So do not, tamper with the system for your own selfish and personal reasons. You must look at, collective goodwill of the Nigerian people, but most importantly, contributing your own role towards nation building as an individual, because it starts with you and I.
We feel strongly that if we're able to have people of integrity, people that are accountable, who have an accountable society and be able to deliver the right services to citizens. So we run a project called the Integrity Icon, which names and fames honest government officials who are doing the right thing across different sectors, from the health, from education to procurement, the justice sector, the security sector. So you will find out with the recent happenings in Nigeria, the insecurity, you can't even beat your chest to say this person is doing the right thing or that person is doing the right thing. In procurement processes, you can't even beat your chest to say people are doing accountable processes within those processes. So once we have a situation, a platform where we have people of integrity, people that are accountable in these processes, we are sure that we can deliver services.
It is for the sake of whipping public officers in line and keeping tabs on financial dealings that agencies like the Economic Crimes and Financial Commission, Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, among others, were created. So far, the spate of arrest and prosecution and the profile of offenders are quite revealing. On the flip side, civil society organizations believe the present administration has demonstrated serious commitment in the fight against corruption, especially with the signing of the Open Government Partnership by President Muhammadu Buhari.
We're not where we want to be, but we're not where we used to be. President Muhammadu Buhari signed up on the Open Government Partnership, that's the OGP, which now ensured that we have two co-chairs, one from the government side, and the current co-chair is the Minister for State for Budget and Planning, and one from the civil society part. So for the first time, civil society and the government, rather than throwing chairs at each other, would sit at the meeting. Yes, we would disagree, but at the end of this meeting, we come to some agreement and have a national action plan that we will jointly implement for 2 years and continue to review this implementation and serve the people. Because again, when you look at it, as civil society, as government, our role as humanitarian is to ensure that this citizens are better served and service delivery are brought closer to citizens, and we can build back trust and ensure that citizens support government and government provides service delivery while collecting feedback using civil society.
Nigeria is truly a global leader in ending anonymous companies, which is the way in which illicit and stolen wealth is stashed and taken away from the public. So these are very important reforms that have been undertaken by the government in fighting corruption. That's one area. The second area in which the NAP1 and NAP2 have made significant progress is in ensuring that there are tangible benefits to ordinary citizens from open government, not just fighting corruption, grand corruption up there. And here, there's been a landmark Right to Information, Freedom of Information Act, which empowers citizens with the right to information. Also, you are one of the notable countries in our 77-country partnership, which has taken OGP to the state level and to the local level. And at the state level, as you know, there is transparency through the OGP process at the state level. So citizens can oversee the budgets. Citizens can give feedback on health and education. There are very important innovations in Kaduna, for instance, on citizen eyes and ears, where citizens give feedback on whether health and education and road services are being delivered for them.
But more is required to advance the fight against corruption. Key players believe citizens have a huge role to play, as governments cannot do it alone.
Your participation in elections matters. And as you show up and you make statements around who you want to vote and how you want to be governed, it makes a difference. Number two is after you finish voting, the power that you exercise on the day of election is not gone. That power is the office of a citizen of Nigeria. And that from a local level all the way to a federal level, from your local government chairman, from your councillor, that you as a young Nigerian can hold them accountable.
Most Nigerians, the elite, the middle class, the lower class believe it is the duty of other people not to be corrupt, not me. Most Nigerians believe corruption should be fought by the president, EFCC, ICPC. They don't care about themselves, what they do. This is a big problem. Unless and until every Nigerian realizes that they have a role to play, then it's going to be a huge challenge.
In the words of the president, corruption is fighting back, and the result is Nigeria's current position on the Global Corruption Index. It is indeed a clear and present danger on the growth and development of the country, and concerted efforts need to be made to return Nigeria to its pride of place among Committee of Nations.
I cannot agree less with you, Ekene, that corruption is a clear and present danger that must be eliminated through concerted efforts. But what are the various shades of corruption, and is the fight against corruption receiving the much needed support from Nigerians to make it a collective fight? Thomas Ogbetere provides further insight.
Corruption has been one of the challenges bedeviling Nigeria as a nation. Corruption manifests in various shades in all spheres of life, ranging from embezzlement of funds by some political and public office holders, sex for grades in tertiary institutions, budget padding, kickbacks for award of contracts, giving and receiving bribes to push files in offices, just to mention a few.
Two different categories of corruption, what we call grand corruption and petty corruption. Some people also have what they call administrative corruption. But first of all, grand corruption. Grand corruption is corruption that takes place at the topmost levels of government, involving millions and billions of naira. And it is corruption that can affect really the life of people. When corruption takes place at top management in government, it means a lot of money is moved away from projects, and this takes the form of misappropriation of funds, diversion of funds, and even outright stealing of the funds. Then petty corruption is corruption that is a street level, that takes place on the streets, like in the marketplace, when a woman selling gari knocks in the cups of the mudu to make it contain less for the same amount. Nobody is there watching her. She thinks she's making extra money, but she's actually depriving another person of what that person is paying for. You are paying, let's say, 100 naira, and you're not getting 100 naira worth. That is petty corruption, street level corruption. Street level corruption also takes place where, like, officers along the road collect money from drivers, 20 naira, 50 naira, 100 naira, just for passing, or just for Roger, just for nothing, But administrative corruption is another type of corruption that takes place in offices. It may be grand and it may be petty, but basically it's administrative because it is corruption brought on by bureaucracy. Corruption that makes an officer to demand something for him to do his normal duties.
Government, through various anti-graft agencies, have made efforts to stem the tide of corruption, but how much public support has the fight against corruption received?
We mobilize public support, and yes, to a large extent, we are getting their support. Buy-in. Students, beautiful, they want to join the fight against corruption because we make them see that it is their future that is at stake.
Fight against corruption is one, I keep saying, is a very simple fight. All we need is getting the right person to lead that fight. Once you lead, if you get a right leader to lead that fight against corruption, every other person will fall into line. Let me give you a concrete example of what is happening in a state like Borno State. As isolated as it is, do you know the governor of Borno State? I've forgotten his name now. In some instances, will pay unscheduled visits to ministries, even to schools. There was the case of one of the schools that the governor decided to pay an unscheduled, and when he got there, he found only one woman whom they claimed, whom I learned is a Christian from the south, and automatically the governor made the woman the principal of that school. As I'm talking to you, after that incident, before school resumes every morning, every school, all the teachers, including students, will be in school because nobody knows where the next visit will be. And it is the same thing. If we must get the fight against corruption right, then we need a change in our political, social value system.
As part of efforts to enlist the public in the fight against corruption, as well as sensitize the masses on their rules, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, has introduced anti-corruption clubs in most schools in Nigeria.
We introduced the National Values Curriculum. It's old. People don't know that we have it because it is not taught as a subject on its own. It is infused inside existing school subjects, including civic education. So we are teaching these positive values that children should have and letting them know that it is better to be a person of integrity. But beyond that, there are extracurricular activities. You mentioned clubs. We have students anti-corruption clubs, and there are other integrity clubs in schools that teach positive values, tell children what to do, tell children to speak out against corruption.
Corrupt tendencies and practices rob the society of basic infrastructure such as health, transportation, educational facilities, especially when the proceeds of corruption are diverted to private pockets by public servants.
If the government votes 200 million to build a road where there is no road, and a contractor pockets 100 million and uses 100 million to construct that road is not likely to be well built. If they build drainages, it might not be, that road will not last. That community is not going to end up having a road that is motorable or durable for a long time.
For people to involve in corruption, it has deprived you of livelihood. One, it has deprived individuals of their dreams and aspirations. It deprives the prosperity that a community hope to achieve out of existence of where they found themselves.
Some analysts, however, find it rather so sad that members of the public that are being shortchanged sometimes end up supporting those who shortchange them just to get a pittance.
Civil servants, they are not being paid very well. Their salaries are minimal, and it affects them. It's one of the inducements for them to be doing things that are wrong in the system, accepting bribes and inflating contracts for them to make money from that contract from the system.
And someone comes, I'll give this and help me do this. You jump at it because you are not financially independent. So there's a limit to what you can actually resist.
It is also observed that many Nigerians need more sensitization on how to hold their leaders accountable and follow their state or local government budgets for accountability.
From the low to the high, because insecurity is a problem today. So these are areas that without corruptions, the money could have been used to solve all the problems, the need of life.
What I will tell Nigerians is corruption doesn't pay. Corruption at any level doesn't pay. And there is no justification, no rationalization for corruption. That somebody else is doing it and getting away with it is not an excuse for you to get involved in corruption. It doesn't pay. We are all religious people in this country and we believe in God. And there is no religion that encourages corruption. Do what your religion says that you should do, and we'll be fine.
To some analysts, while granting state pardon is constitutional, there is no moral justification for granting pardon to those convicted by the judiciary for stealing the nation's commonwealth.
Yes, the constitution empowers the president to pardon whoever is so wish. But morally, there should be area the president should not exercise that power.
Of course, morality, you know, is not legality. But looking at it from the moral standpoint, how will someone who had stolen billions of naira belonging to the community is arrested and jailed for stealing, let's say, 1 billion naira? And after spending a couple of years, maybe 3 or 4 years, you grant him pardon and tell him to go home and sin no more. While in the same prison where he came out from, there are people who are languishing in prison for stealing maybe a bag of rice, for stealing maybe a GSM handset, for stealing electronic devices. People who, in certain instances, stole because they had no other choice. Meaning, if the politicians had done what they were supposed to do, most of the people in jail will not be in jail because they will be gainfully employed. If the prerogative of mercy were to be looked at objectively, I would suggest, in my own opinion, that it should be across board. The government can wake up one morning and say, okay, everybody, let us carry out an audit of everybody who is in jail. If you are in jail because you have stolen anything less than 1 million naira, we are releasing you the next day. Go home and sin no more, but we have your records. It will make a lot of sense.
The consensus is that government cannot fight corruption alone. There is advocacy for all Nigerians to own the fight against corruption and also shun all forms of corruption so that a decent and a corrupt-free society may emerge for present and future generations.
Quite true, Thomas. It is time for all Nigerians to own the fight against corruption and make it collective to safeguard the nation's commonwealth for the prosperity of present and future generations. That's where we leave it on 30 Minutes today. Remember, you can be a whistleblower to expose corruption wherever you find it. My name is Mithaire Ikwen. See you next time.
NTA, you can't beat the rich. Information is power. Everyone wants power. So feel powerful with the NTA News mobile app, the one-stop information center. Real news at your fingertip. Be the first to report by uploading first-hand information on the You Report link, and be the first to know by simply clicking on any of the links on the sidebar for headlines, domestic and foreign news, economy, security, politics, sports, and more. Stream live on your smartphone and tablets and stay connected. It's pretty easy. Simply download NTA News app from your Google Play Store and you're good to go. NTA News mobile app, your access to real-time information.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can watch NTA International live on your TV, computer, iPad, tablet, and phone. Log on to visiontv.co.uk and click on Entertainment, then NTAI. You can also download the iOS or Android app on your mobile devices to watch NTA International on the go, anywhere in the world. NTA International, your window to the world. Yeah.
This is the moment we've been waiting. It's time to rise up, do it again. Africa, do your dance now. God, do your winning dance now. So we never lose it again. Africa rise up, yes we gon' rise up. Africa rise up, Africa rise up, yes we gon' rise up. Africa rise up.
And welcome to another amazing edition of your weekend.
I'm telling you, oh, it has to be heat, it has to be steamy, it has to be hot, but we've decided that, somebody has to tell a story that is family oriented.
Welcome to another edition of Talking Movie.
News everyone ever cared about.
See, when you say pour out, you can't call water because you don't excavate water.
This is the #1 program, Gallery.
Do you love to gist or gossip?
It's not it is extremely wrong. And we cannot take it.
Hello everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of Whip and Grill.
Welcome to the slant today, where we say it as it is and we get to enjoy ourselves talking about various things that are happening in our society.
I want to hear more, please.
Beyond 6 packs. But your job still remains as the man to protect the woman, to project the woman.
You need to do that again.
Niger Republic names major road in the capital city, Niamey, after President Muhammadu Buhari.
Written in line with the country's constitution, naming this street as Muhammadu Buhari Boulevard. And the essence of that decree is that it is never to be changed.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo restates Nigeria's position on gas project funding.
Limiting the development of domestic gas projects, which is a critical energy transition pathway for Africa.
And Court of Appeal reinstates Senator SIOTA Binani as Adamawa APC governorship candidate.
We are hopeful that Senator SIOTA Ahmed will be able to reap the benefits of her nominations.
On Good Morning Nigeria today, we focus on the 2022 elections of the Chartered Institute of Transport Administration, plus premiere of the movie Tradition.
All right, so this Saturday, November the 26th, 2022, the Chartered Institute of Transport Administration, SIOTA, will be holding its fresh elections. Now, 3 contestants will be vying for that #1 position.
Well, as indicated, there are 3 contenders for the position of the national president of the institute. And Prince Segun Ochuku Obayendo, Group Managing Director, Temple Group Limited, pioneer of a computerized vehicle inspection company, is one of the contenders.
And ahead of that elections, as expected, campaigns and other electioneering matters are in force or in progress, as declared by the chairman of the Electoral Committee, SIOTA, Professor Odewumi, in an electoral timetable. We shall be looking at that election as one of our topics today.
Well, on another score, the importance of indigenous movies is paramount, it is said, in building the fundamental values of our cultural heritage. Of course, our cultural heritage defines the African essence, especially relating to communal experience.
Absolutely, Kingsley. And of course, culture is the totality of the way of life of a people. And I should say that, Kingsley, any human activity without mainstreaming, culture will, amount to dismembering, that entity, of course. And knowing that Nigeria is a country rich in land, people, and culture, our uniqueness lies in our diversity, the diversity of cultures, and of course our cultural experience would vary from community to community.
So the movie titled Tradition highlights, unfortunately, some harmful widowhood practices. And as we know, over the years, widowhood practices have been issues that have come up for conversation, particularly, we know widowhood, of course, can affect a man or a woman. A woman who loses her husband is a widow, and a man who loses the wife is a widower. But the greater issues of concern relate to what usually would happen to women who lose their husband, and in some cases also to the children who are then partially orphaned by that law. So the premiere of the movie Tradition is due out soon.
Kingsley, I did say that a culture or activity without a culture is like dismembering and an entity. But of course, there are cultures that should I say should evolve with time. And any culture or tradition that becomes that is out or endangers any gender should be looked at again. And I think that is one of the key message that movie will be telling us. But let's get back to the SIOTA elections, and the questions that members of the association are asking is who will be the next national president of that Chartered Institute of Transport Administration. Now, will it be one of the 3 contestants? We don't know. Now, again, to the movie Tradition. What is it all about? What should those that will attend be expecting from the movie premiere? These are some of the issues that we will form the thrust of our 2-part conversation today on Good Morning Nigeria this Friday. Of course, as we focus on SIOTA 2022 elections and the movie premiere Tradition. I'm Claire Adilabu Abdulrazak. Thank you once again for joining us, and thank God it's Friday.
I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I joined my colleague Claire to also welcome you to the program and to underscore the fact that culture is dynamic. Any culture that fails to improve on itself, of course, obviously, dies away and the culture becomes extinct. And it is also the case that there's a phenomenon referred to in social anthropology as cultural relativism. That is,
one cannot use his or her own cultural standards to judge or evaluate the rightness or wrongness of our cultural standards elsewhere. But of course, this whole idea of knocking at the door and seeking to tear down harmful widowhood practices, these ideas are coming from within, within us as a country. And we have seen, for instance, that there has also been judicial intervention in this regard.
Precisely.
For instance, in parts of Igbo land, if not most parts of Igbo land, it used to be a taboo for a female to inherit the father's property on the passing of that father. It normally would be the case that a widow is chased out in some cases, and then the female children are denied the right of inheritance. But this, of course, the courts have pronounced on this. There are also harmful practices elsewhere in our country, and we know that among some cultures, a member of the male family, in the event of the husband passing away, is said to inherit the widow, whether or not the widow would consent to such marriage. But of course,
one very, very, I don't know how the word to describe it, is the practice where a widow is made to, shave off her hair, and then, of course, made to drink, the water that is used to wash the cups of the husband.
Well, shaving the hair is not such, unless it is not voluntary. But I think the more repugnant, if I may use that, the more repugnant is asking the widow to drink the water that is used to wash the cups.
Yes.
I mean, let's be realistic. We now know what medical science has been teaching us. For instance, if a person dies of Ebola, the cadaver is full with the virus of Ebola, and anybody that touches or handles that body in an improper way, including, of course, drinking water from it, will also be infected with the Ebola virus. So are you then suggesting, for instance, that this trial by ordeal, that the widow should drink from the cups, whether to know whether or not she had the hand in the death of the husband? Some of these practices, as we said, medical science is, of course, shattering them, and that, of course, is what the cultural evolution it's all about. Once again, I'm Kingsley Osadolo. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria. The complimentary segments of the program will include newspaper review and business. The World Cup is still on, and fantastic matches are being played. Great matches yesterday. The Ghanaians are striving mightily against Portugal, but falling short 3-2. And then Brazil showed that, of course, again, they are top contenders for the World Cup. 2-0 against Serbia.
Kingsley, don't let us end this program.
Well, not yet. Aunt Jibuno has the highlights of the morning news.
Hello, Kingsley. Good morning, Claire. Good morning, Nigeria. Here's the news. As a mark of appreciation of his impactful leadership and enormous contribution to peace, stability, security, and democracy in West Africa and across the continent, the Republic of Niger has named a major road in Niamey, the capital city, after President Muhammadu Buhari.
It is significant because it's not one of those things that are done to please a leader while he is there. You can see, at the ceremony, the Nigerian president gave the decree, signed by the mayor of Niamey, written in line with the country's constitution, naming this street as Muhammadu Buhari Boulevard. And the essence of that decree is that it is never to be changed.
Meanwhile, a critical compendium on the personality of President Muhammadu Buhari, chronicling his modest life, has been formally unveiled in Niamey, Republic of Niger. The publication was sponsored by the government of the neighboring Niger Republic in honor of the Nigerian leader, widely acclaimed as a man of enormous integrity and leader par excellence.
Mr. President Buhari, thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to honor you, to celebrate you.
This ceremony and the biography it commemorates serve as a clarion call to emerging leaders across Africa and inspire them to always be guided by the core values of hard work, integrity, and patriotism.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has again called on countries that are sponsoring the defunding of gas projects in Africa to abandon the idea, but rather support Africa in the quest towards meeting its energy needs for growth and development. Anything contrary to this, he observes, would further dip the people into poverty.
So clearly, limiting the development of domestic gas projects, which is a critical energy transition pathway for Africa, violates the enshrined principles of equity and justice and poses dire challenges for African nations while making an insignificant dent in global emissions.
INEC has released guidelines for the conduct of political rallies, processions and campaigns, as well as finances and election expenses of political parties, candidates and aspirants. The 12-point guideline on conduct of political rallies and campaign deals with issues of procedures, clash of dates, venues and time of campaigns. And the 9-point guideline on financing and election expenses of political parties reminds stakeholders on the procedures and limits of individual and group donations, as well as submission of revenues and expenditures after the election. Meanwhile, INEC has approved the reappointment of the Secretary of the Commission, Mrs. Rose Oriara Anthony, for a second and final term of 4 years, with effect from 7th December 2022. The House of Representatives has passed a resolution to investigate the execution of the $475 million project of fiber infrastructure across the country. The resolution was in response to a motion from Benjamin Mzondu during Thursday's plenary.
All through the execution and completion phases of the project funded by part of the credit facility, Galaxy Backbone, and to a large extent, the Ministry of Communication have frustrated efforts to oversight progress of the project.
On the heels of the investigative report by the NTA, the Nigerian Immigration Service is attributing delays in passport processing to upsurge in demand and post-COVID-19 lockdown. The service public relations officer wants Nigerians who have no plans of traveling in the short term to quit applying for passports, thereby heaping pressure on the passport system.
Acquiring travel documents has become a little bit more challenging because COVID put pressure on the traveling populace worldwide. For the period of 2020, all the applicants for Nigerian passports could not be attended to because we didn't have physical contact with anybody. What we are facing is a deluge, an upsurge in the number of applicants, and it's actually overstretching our facilities as well.
A court of appeal sitting in Yola has set aside the judgment of a federal high court that nullified the governorship primary election of the All Progressives Congress APC in Adamawa State. The court has ordered that the name of Senator Aishatu Dahiru Ahmed Binani be sent to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, as Adamawa APC governorship candidate in the 2023 general elections.
We are hopeful that Senator Aishatu Dahiru Ahmed will be able to reap the benefits of her nominations.
We believe that such judgments would always place things in the proper perspective.
But that's the news for now. The program continues with Kingsley and Claire after the break.
The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) hereby informs the general public that the preliminary register of voters will be displayed for public scrutiny in all registration areas, wards nationwide from Saturday 12th to Friday 18th November 2022. The preliminary register of voters will also be displayed on the Commission's official website. INEC will address the claims, objections, and complaints arising from the public scrutiny of the register at registration areas, wards from Saturday 12th to Friday 18th November 2022 and at INEC local government offices from Saturday 19th to Friday 25th November 2022. All registered voters are advised to cross-check their details in the register. Any voter whose name and personal particulars are incorrect can file a claim. Furthermore, the public can file objections against any name wrongfully included in the register. This message is from the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC.
Our pastors, our imams, in every church, in every mosque, please realize that in the course of praying for peaceful and transparent elections, we all have duties beyond prayers. If we want a stable society before, during, and after the elections, what should you be saying to those that worship with you? All Sundays and all Fridays, you are saddled with the responsibility of bringing up good generations. It is therefore your duty to both man and God to ensure peace all the time, no matter about elections alone. People talk to people and people listen. Talk to your followers. Make them listen to ensure peaceful 2023 elections. This message is from the National Orientation Agency.
Finally, the hero of Nigeria's democracy has arrived. He shall usher us into a new phase of development, peace, and prosperity. He is the father of the new Nigeria, His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. Welcome to another season of giving Nigerians hope yet again. We are sure of a great future for both ourselves and generations yet unborn. We look forward to your leading us as a nation into our manifest destiny. Though the challenges against us as a people are many, we know that your leadership shall set us on the right path to our greatness. A new dawn beckons on us all, and having you as our president is a precursor to this. Thank you for believing in Nigeria. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
The Ministry of Police Affairs under my watch has been instrumental to strengthening the Nigerian police force to tackle challenges in the internal security architecture of the nation. To effectively achieve its mandate to protect lives and property within Nigeria, the Nigerian police have deployed operational intelligence and the ICT-based apparatus to tackle and stem the tide of crime and criminality. Some of these efforts include the maximization of the Force Intelligence Bureau, Intelligence Response Team, and Special Tactical Squads, through digitalization of emergency contacts via the NPF Rescue Me application for emergency response at the tap of a button.
This message is brought to you from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
All right, welcome to Good Morning Nigeria. If you just tuned in, and you're right on time to join our business news with Kunle Adeye. And in this package, he tells us that the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment is craving for more skills acquisition amid population explosion and growing unemployment.
Minister of State, Industry, Trade and Investment Mariam Katagun has called for the escalation of skills acquisition to all Nigerians amid population explosion and growing unemployment. She spoke at the second edition of the Industrial Training Fund ITF and the Nigeria Employers Consultative Association Forum for Technical Skills Development Project in Abuja.
I believe that with public-private partnerships, we can create decent jobs in sufficient quantities to resolve the protracted problems of unemployment and reduce poverty, while also providing a foundation for more robust and inclusive growth.
The number of POs has soared to 89 today, while also training over 56,597 highly skilled technicians and Nigerians who have been able to secure high-paying quality jobs or have set up on their own.
In another development, the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Niyi Adebayo, has disclosed that a review of the nation's automobile bill is ready for presentation to the National Assembly for passage. The minister made this known at the 22nd Abuja International Automobile Fair.
As Nigeria moves away from purely dependent on crude oil into diversification, industrialization is key to really creating a better life for each and every man, woman, and child.
The minister also emphasized that the marriage between automobile spare parts manufacturers, corporate bodies, and government agencies is necessary for economic and technological development of Nigeria. With business news, I'm Kunle Adeye.
Thank you very much, Kunle, for the business package. Coming up next, newspaper review.
All right, it is my pleasure to welcome Chukwudi Okolie Ugbaja, although, of course, it's my first time to be on set with you. It's good to have you on Good Morning Nigeria. And by the way, Chukwudi is known as Chooks the Boy. That's what we call him. Chooks the Boy, good to see you.
You know, that boy is everything about me once I hear it mentioned.
I know, but don't display it here.
I'll try not to.
No, please. All right, so Kingsley.
Okay, we have the New Telegraph newspaper, and its front page is pretty busy. Potpourri of stories on the economy, politics, and security. Above the nameplate of New Telegraph, PMS, that's Premium Motor Spirit, otherwise known as petrol. Marketers justify pump price above 200 naira per litre. Attribute scarcity to dry depots. Q3 22, that's the third quarter of the year 2022. Nigeria's GDP growth decreases by 1.78%. Of course, you have the details of that story on page 3 of the paper, telling you the growth of Nigeria's GDP for the year. Now, the paper is reporting here 1.73 as the decline of the growth rate, around about 2 point something right there. Now, below the name flag, you have the following headlines. DSS withdraws suit against ex-terrorist negotiator Mamu. Nigeria's legislature impotent, says ex-minister Shitu, Minister of Communications. 2023, court sacks Rivers APC governorship candidate Tony Cole. And then you have another one there. Autumn, G5 can't succumb to intimidation. We came under attack, but undeterred. That's Bazu. Buhari rewards loyalty, doesn't use and dump. That's according to his chief of staff, Gambari. And 2023, APC recounts on Beavers and others. Beavers is the biomodal verification, voter accreditation system, biomodal voter accreditation system Details on pages 2 and 5. Small arms proliferation, threat to Nigeria's security. That's attributed to the National Security Advisor. And then the photograph there on the front page shows the Atiku Okowa presidential campaign ticket at their rally in Ilorin, Kwara State. Federal government targets 95% financial inclusion by 2024, according to CBN. Educating girl child better than women empowerment. That's according to Lawan. 34 states ratified Child Rights Act. It's been snail speed for the ratification of the Child Rights Act. Federal government reintroduces history in basic education curriculum. Begins training of 3,700 teachers. Now, Delta establishes Sexual Victims Referral Center. 2023 presidential campaign, a dialogue with all agitators, says Tinubu. Atiku promises jobs and infrastructure. Obi represents body and soul of Indigbo. Support him to the hilt, Ohaneze tells Northern elders. Obasanjo to youth, don't allow those messing up your future to succeed, says participation will guarantee their tomorrow. Engaging presidential candidates, not endorsement, according to Khan. Study ties vaping to tooth decay risk. Clear.
Yes, Kingsley, thank you. Almost all the stories you've read from that paper are also carried on the front page of The Nation, specifically on the issue of NNPCL and marketers differing over lingering petrol scarcity. That's the headline of the Nation there. The disagreement on what is the status quo, what is causing the resurfaced queues, petrol queues in parts of Abuja and Lagos. That's the crux of the matter. Why the IPMAN, that's Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, say there is acute scarcity, that the acute scarcity is due to the unavailability of the product at filling stations. Of course, the downstream regulatory authority agency is saying that it has enough in stock that will last for more than 1 month. This is a story I know Chukwudi would like to say, who is telling us what is the actual situation. Other stories, one other one that Kingsley also read is that of I just take it from the inside of this page, the story on the withdrawal of suit against the terrorist negotiator Mamu by DSS. The Nation says that details of that the reason given was that the case had been overtaken by events, although details of the new events were not given by this paper. Other stories just above the nameplate. Can to Nigerians vote your conscience? Details of that on page 29. Now, court sustains injunction stopping Nigeria Air takeoff. You can find out details of that on page 7. And PDP G5 governors won't bow to intimidation. Atiku, are you absent at Abia rally? That's the rider. Again, that story continues on page 29, and you can see the picture story there of the APC, that's All Progressives Congress presidential candidate, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu. The governors of Imo and Ebonyi flanked there, and of course, that event was the presidential campaign rally in Abakaliki, Ebonyi State. It happened yesterday. And Tinubu saying, our review policies hindering commerce in Southeast. Again, turn on to page 4. You'll find the details of that story there. Let me also take you to the story, picture story just below the bottom of the paper, and that picture story, we see the Balogun Alanamu or Dr. Usman Abubakar Jos. We see Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, Kwara State Governor Abdul Rahman Abdul Razak, and Commissioner of Police. And the event is the inauguration of a model police station and ultra-modern barracks in Ilorin. The event happened on Tuesday. Now to football. The Nation also has reports on the World Cup, ongoing World Cup, just above the nameplate. It says African teams in sloppy World Cup start. And Senate panel clears Omana of 480 billion naira fraud allegation. Okay, so Chukwudi, over to you.
Yes, let me quickly look at 3 topical stories. Topical in the sense that it has general import.
Okay.
They affect almost everybody here. Now, the NNPC Limited and marketers differing, over what's responsible for the lingering, fuel scarcity is beginning to suggest to us that more definitive statements should be coming from those who are responsible for this fuel to flow to the filling stations. Now, the Nation says in spite of the 2,050,534,000 product stock claimed by NNPC Limited, scarcity has resurfaced in the Nigerian capital and Lagos as well. The other time, it was a case of, the floods have taken over the roads in Lokoja, and trucks can't, come in anymore. But the curious thing is that even during that time, some filling stations not in the metropolis will still dispense fuel at prices you dare not contest, because that will mean you're going to have to maybe run your car on some other substance that are not going to be conducive for the running of that car, of that vehicle. So I think that we should at this point have something that is close to order in terms of the supply of fuel. Now, we move from 165 to 175 and then to 180. I'm talking about what I want to think is the regulated,
price.
Still, we're having this. Something is wrong. And now, marketers are justifying a price for PMS that goes beyond 200 naira per liter. The people, the buying public, the consumers are not even complaining. A free rein seems to have been allowed them tacitly, yet we hear these complaints. It doesn't quite make sense.
Well, I didn't even think that the scarcity, went off at any time. I mean, yes, we saw a little bit of relief, but it was there. Except you're willing to buy above 200, yes. You get it, you can get fuel easily. Otherwise, you have to queue, and the long queues, have remained. Kingsley.
Well, I think that's a lingering issue, and my views on this matter are very well known. We're refining, we won't be having this contemplation. People will also blame the war in Ukraine as part of the reason why we're having shortfalls and so on and so forth. There's a story I want to draw attention to very quickly. I think Claire and I were on set that day, on the front page of the New Telegraph. It's saying federal government reintroduces history in basic education curriculum, begins training of 3,700 teachers. I'm slightly confused as to what this means. Because in 2016, on Good Morning Nigeria, we had a conversation on history as a subject in our schools. What were the reasons for the removal of the subject as a standalone subject in our schools, particularly senior secondary school, and it was then merged with social studies or something. We had, I think, was it a 2-part conversation? This was like 6 years ago. Some of the guests on that day, I remember them very well, professors of history. And shortly after that conversation, the Federal Ministry of Education announced the reintroduction of history as a standalone subject in our schools. So if that was done 6 years or so ago, which one are they talking about now? Is it basic education? That is to say primary school curriculum. When I was in elementary school, we studied history. But is it, and then we also have social studies, which was a combination of geography and all kinds of things. You deal with You would deal with cash crops. I remember I've said it on Good Morning Nigeria in the past. When you are doing multiple choice questions, which of the following trees sheds its leaves all year round? Rubber, cocoa, they will write all kinds of things. And then the correct one, of course, is cocoa. Cocoa tree sheds its leaves all year round. So
it's a sing song.
A sing song.
Right.
But history, following on the considered should I say, considered view of our guests on that occasion, it was indicated that history had been reintroduced. So what is this story telling us now? And the statement is being attributed again to another official of the Federal Ministry of Education.
Is this a new story, or is just recalled by this paper?
It's not been recorded the story 6 years later. This is
let's not begin to question ourselves too much, because the other time I was telling Kingsley that we might need to look at the Newspaper Proprietors Association of Nigeria and Bond coming together for the media to begin to self-regulate. It's so easy for us to say, oh, NBC has done this, NBC has done that. But inaccuracy might not be a crime in journalism, but it does not tell me that you have been very tidy about process. So we have to be very careful. Yes, 2009, we heard stories about history being suspended, but for crying out loud, 2016, as Kingsley said, it got reinstated fully. So what are we talking about? But gentlemen, let's quickly go to what promotes democracy. Here, to my thinking, APC backs INEC on use of technology. Now, let's leave out the who, when, where of that story and go to the fact that it signals and portends something good for democracy. When the political parties begin to think or go in tandem with what the electoral umpire is doing, it tells us that a credible process is emerging. I thought we should raise that.
We should also look at it closely, deeper.
I think the comment I would make on that is that story that you have drawing attention to Chukwudi is actually a rebuttal of an earlier story attributed to the chairman of the All Progressives Congress, who was said to have raised concerns about the use of beavers and electronic transmission of results.
Yes.
Now, the publicity secretary of APC then issued a statement that said that what the APC chairman said during the visit by Commonwealth pre-election group did not get the context right, and that APC stands for the use of technology and all that.
That story is aptly captured in on page 6 of The Nation, and it says APC not against beavers, says spokesman Moka. Yes.
All right.
So it's a rebuttal, really.
That's right. Please, let me plead, because we've eaten it. We have two topics to discuss this morning. There is a story not on the front pages of the papers this morning. It also affects our democracy. The governor of Osun State is leaving office this weekend. By weekend, of course, we will have a new governor. Adeleke is the governor-elect. On the eve of his departure, the outgoing governor of Osun State has appointed 30 permanent secretaries.
How long will they last?
The incoming governor has already issued a warning to those who have been appointed. I didn't read the story. I didn't read from the story. No, I read the story. I didn't read from the story two things. One, how many permanent secretaries were previously in the service of Osun State that you are now appointing 30? Now, what I also didn't read is whether those 30 appointed have been sworn in. You are appointing 30 new permanent secretaries for an incoming governor, and the incoming governor has warned that, look, if you as a director, you step into the shoes of a permanent secretary, consider yourself fired with effect from Monday. Because it's a new deal. And I just ask myself, look, what is all this giveaway that you are doing as an outgoing governor? Why appoint 30 new permanent secretaries? It just means that you make them political appointees, and then they are subject, of course, to the vagaries of the principal who is then the governor. If you are a director, you remain a director, and of course you are governed by the civil service rules, and so on and so forth. The governor who comes in will have the power and authority to dispense with their services.
Chukwudi, you may not have time to speak deeply on this because we've run out of time.
Yes,
I just like to say it has become the practice of some the chief executives.
Creating
Yes, exactly. To appoint, you know, I mean, we saw a particular, you know, chief executive appointing how many? Special advisors, essays.
No, that's a different consideration. That one is different. All those essays, I bet their tenure will elapse with the government.
These ones are in the bureaucracy.
Yes, they're in the bureaucracy.
That's it.
Yes, that's it.
Please, quickly, our president, the French version of his biography.
Yes, sorry.
Very important. We mentioned that. The president talked about something that really struck a chord with me. He says we should work at things that bring about threats and volatilities in the sub-region. And that is closely related to the call for non-proliferation of light and small weapons. That's the NSA talking about it the other time.
Chukwudi, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to interject.
This is okay.
Shoot the boy.
Well,
let's see.
You know that once you put me on the high, we ride with it.
All right.
Thank you guys so much.
That was a newspaper review of Good Morning Nigeria this Friday. Please don't go away. We have two issues to talk about when we come back presently.
The Debt Management Office has been impacting infrastructure across Nigeria through the sovereign Sukuk. Sections of 71 roads and 4 bridges covering a total of 2,820.06 kilometers across Nigeria have been constructed or rehabilitated using proceeds from previous Sukuk offerings of 2017, 2018, 2020, and 2021. Here is another opportunity to invest in your country as the federal government through the Debt Management Office offers for subscriptions of 100 billion naira 10-year Ijara Sukuk due December 2032 at the rate of 15.64% per annum. To be a part of this opportunity, check newspapers for details. Contact your bank or stockbroker or visit the DMO website at www.dmo.gov.ng to download and complete the application form. Your investment is a catalyst for growth and development.
Every day in our country, senior citizens are discriminated against, disparaged, and treated with disdain by those who ought to respect them. We are all complicit in the way we have treated the elderly members of our society as institutions, families, or members of a shared society. Every time senior citizens get offered less than they deserve for the work they do because they are old, poor, and desperate, we are failing them. Senior citizen loses a child, and wow, they must be responsible for their death. Every time a senior citizen gets labeled a witch, is called mad, and shooed out of the way because they have no memory of where they were headed and look unkempt, we are failing them. We say, abeg, it all old, make it do die, make everybody for rest. To ailing parents, uncles, and aunts. That's discrimination. That is neglect. When you see an old woman getting beat up and being accused of witchcraft, do not turn the other way. Stop and teach people that white hairs, wrinkles, and hunchbacks are no evidence of witchcraft. Aging comes with a memory decline. Sometimes it's not out of place to have elderly people lose their way, forget details of their lives, and how to properly take care of themselves. When they get to this stage, they deserve your empathy, not scorn. Our ailing fathers, mothers, aunties, and uncles are deserving of quality healthcare and peaceful transition. Make their last moments memorable. Senior citizens have paid their dues. They deserve your care. Stop all forms of discrimination against them today.
The security challenges we have faced as a government have been daunting, from terrorism to banditry, to kidnapping, to separatist violence, to crude oil theft, to armed robbery and Sunday crimes. It's undoubtedly the greatest challenge to the peace and security of our great country since the Civil War of 1967 to 1970. It's a kind of challenge that would have overwhelmed many nations. But thanks to the purposeful leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari, we can say, I want to repeat, that the worst is over and peace and security are gradually returning to the land.
This message is brought to you from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
As the 2023 elections draw near, remember, evil prospers when good men and women only wish for peace, but never take a step to make peaceful elections happen. Are you a father? Are you a mother? What are you saying to your children as elections approach? Have you warned them not to let themselves be used to cause violence? Have you explained to them what the consequences of electoral violence might be? Do your part to make peaceful elections happen. Talk to your children. Protect them from unscrupulous politicians who want to put them in harm's way, while their own children are comfortable at home, within and outside the country. Let's join hands to make 2023 elections peaceful. This message is from the National Orientation Agency, NOAA.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youth, let's build our nation together.
All right, welcome back to Good Morning Nigeria this Friday. If you've just joined in, welcome as we commence our conversation. And I earlier told you that we shall be focusing on first the Chartered Institute of Transport Administration, SIOTA, 2022 election. And we have right here in the studio to discuss the coming election. I will begin with the introductions right away. I have with me Prince Shegun Uchuku Obayendo, Group Managing Director, Temple Group Limited, and he's also pioneer of the Computerized Vehicle Inspection Company, and also SIOTA National Presidential Candidate. We're glad to have you with us on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you.
And also here is Honorable Umar Iya. He's SIOTA Deputy Presidential Candidate. I thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And the gender balance, I like this. Ifoma George Oji. Ifoma Oji is the Managing Director, Temple SYC Inspection Limited. Ifoma, thank you for joining us. Thank you for having me.
All right. All right. We're glad to have you in our studios. First of all, what is the Chartered Institute of Transport Administration all about?
Thank you very much once again. And SIOTA, Chartered Institute of Transport Administration, is about training, it's about regulation, it's about professionalization of the transportation sector. It's about equipping transportants. I mean, those who work in the sector, they are called transportants. Those certified by us, they are called transportants. So if you are our member and you've been certified, you'll be addressed and called transportants, meaning you operate within that ecosystem. And our job is not different from what law school will do in terms of rebranding lawyers who are coming from university. They need to be further retrained on how to engage in practice of law. So for you to practice transport, SIOTA needs to train you to be able to practice well and represent the country well, and of course add value.
So
sorry. I mean, let's just deal with this analogy. How long is the training at SIOTA?
It's in phases. For example, if you want to be just the stage one, just like ICANN, that's about 9 months. Then of course, subsequent one depends on the stages you want to go. It could take you 3 years to be certified.
Is this a residential program for the course of the training?
We have different centers all over the country, and you can key in and register with our centers.
You know, the reason I'm asking, because I mean, there are members of the Council of Legal Education who will be listening to you this morning, and when you say that the SIOTA training is like training for lawyers and so on and so forth, it's almost it's almost revolting, to any lawyer who will hear that. because legal training is a serious business. It's consistent, residential, for a minimum of 9 months. That's a full academic session.
Okay.
And it has all kinds of things embedded in it.
Let me take you on.
Why are you using the analogy of law and transporters? I mean, it's not...
so many people are yet to be aware of who we are and what we represent. And this is the time to market my institute. This is the time to make statement that this is what my institute stands for, and this is what they should expect by the grace of God, where we take the mantle of leadership. And we are saying that, for example, I can do without a lawyer. You can do without a lawyer if you don't have issues, but you can't do without transport. For me, transport is indispensable.
Well, that's what we believe. But the legal profession, you touch them, they are the learned profession. They don't regard others. But let me ask you, what are the pre-requirements, for one to be a member of your institute?
One, you have to be engaged in the sector. You have to be practicing, you have to be earning living with transportation. You can also do courses on transportation in some of our universities that are offering it. And once you have that background, you are good to
You see why Kingsley, took you up on the analogy
of
to be yes, you get to go to the law school, you get to study law, have an academic qualification for it before you go to the law school.
The issue is this.
But this anybody.
We were just chartered 2019. With due respect, the law profession has been around for a very long time. As in, the professionalization of law has been around for a very long time. So they have stabilized, they have passed through all the thick and thin, but we are just coming out, haven't been chartered although we've been around since 1981, but we got chartered by the National Assembly, assented to by Mr. President, and just 3 years old. So
anyway, that's not.
Some will say, find your mate. Since we got chartered only 3 years ago.
That's not the crux of our conversation. So let's not deviate. Yes. So, but let me ask, sorry, Kingsley. Let me bring in the deputy presidential candidate. So a lot of people will be wondering why we're having this conversation. I would like you to connect the dots. How does your institute connect with an efficient, effective road transportation, for instance? Because people want to know, okay, this is a transport administration institute, you train the transportants and all that. How does that rub off on an effective, efficient road transport network?
Thank you very much for the question asked to me. Actually, we are, my president said, that we are training and retraining the people. But also, we will advise the government how to put road in place, because our major problem in Nigeria is the road transport infrastructure. Having that transport infrastructure in place, so definitely we will come to challenge of all the challenges that we are facing in terms of road transport. But however, the operators of road transport, there are many. We have like National Union of Road Transport Workers, NATO, and all in fact, anybody can operate as a transport owner. So we have to regulate this, let them understand how road transport is all about. So with having SIOTA on ground, with our trained people on ground, so definitely we will key into all these various organizations like transport workers and the transport orders. Most of the road transport operators are individuals. Most of them are individuals, those that have a fleet on the road. So from there we can enlighten them to show them how important of transport network operation in Nigeria. So that's our thing.
Sorry, Mrs. Ifeoma Orji, tell us something. What is the linkage between the institute and logistics? I know there's also an institute of logistics or something. Yes. What is the linkage or difference, if any?
Well, it's not really there's not really a difference. It's linked because the logistics must use transport. At every point in time, you are going to use either air, water, or land. And in any case, you can even use pipelines, and rail if it's working. So there's no, it's actually linked in every form that you can think of.
In that case, what do you do, and then what do they do?
Okay.
The difference basically is the Chartered Institute of Transport and Logistics is I want to say, yes, registered in Nigeria, but has not been chartered by as Act of Parliament in Nigeria. So in those days, people who want to take that certification, they are mostly abroad based or foreign, but where we are doing what I call local content, locally certified, government approved, government certified for us to operate. We are, I don't want to say we are rival bodies, but it's like ICANN and ANAN. So they've added logistics to their name, but we choose to want to concentrate on more professionalization of the transport sector, which would dovetail into logistics and others.
What specifically do you teach transportants, as you call them, in your institute?
For example, some of the programs we've had, we've looked at, for example, intermodality. How do we bring it to bear? The whole transportation ecosystem is there, but have we been able to connect them, for example? That's one. But two, when we talk about global best practices, we don't have it yet. I mentioned 2 days ago when I was unveiling my manifesto that one of the reasons why we have both mishaps in recent time is absence of regulation. And that is one of the things we are empowered to do, to encourage and regulate our members who are practicing any mode of transport. So we train them on the substance of what they are doing. We have bespoke courses that relate to the mode where they operate and how it also affects the larger society. So basically, we get them to be a global transport operator.
Okay, thanks. I just taking a look now online. There is the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport,
yes.
Nigeria. It says as a national council. I can't immediately research into other things as you just said, whether or not they are chartered or otherwise. I'm raising this because we've had conversations with some officials of the Institute of Logistics and Transport. And this had to do with, for instance, the frequent road crashes involving fuel-laden tankers. If you know, it's only probably in recent weeks that probably on account of scarcity or otherwise, there have been no reports of fuel tankers that have fallen, exploded, and killed several persons. It had to do with, so listen, who manages those road transporters who are delivering highly inflammable materials and so on and so forth. So in your case, before we get into the nitty-gritty of your elections, and therefore why your elections are important, who are those that come under your supervision?
Just like the name implies, Chartered Institute of Transport Administration. Whoever is involved in organization and administration of transport, they are under our influence. But the point is this, the issue of the tanker you just mentioned, many things are wrong, which we intend to correct. Let me take you on the Otedola Bridge accident some time ago that led to so many deaths. Do you know precisely what really happened in that accident? That very truck that was carrying over 45,000 liters was actually calibrated or manufactured to carry 10 tons worth of goods. But here we are, they brought this truck to Nigeria. It was now remodeled as if it has that capacity to be able to carry 45,000 liters of fuel. So at that point in Otedola Bridge, they were trying to climb the bridge. Somehow the engine couldn't carry it. It failed, rolled back, and caused accident. Where am I going? It goes beyond the institute alone. Government has to get involved. Government has to do what they are supposed to do. Ideally, before it was licensed, they ought to have done what we call audit of what is manufactured to carry. And then it will be so licensed properly. And then we can have a good operation. Then our way bridge that we've not been using for so long a time, that's also a very big problem. If we had had a good way bridge system, that accident would have been avoided. They would have been able to weigh it at point A and know, oh, you are not supposed to carry this much. You need to take it off. We are not doing that. SIOTA will insist through advocacy that government should do the right thing so that we can get the right result.
You know, Claire, when we had, we'll be very brief on this now so we can say we'll get into your elections. I know Umar is itching to say something. We've had more than one session of conversation on fuel tanker accidents.
That's right.
And part of the underhand tactics of the operators is that they will change the cab of the fuel tanker, take a cab to go to the loading bay, meet all the requirements, then take off, come back again, and then, of course, couple it to the other one. So these are some of the underhand tactics that
the system will have been able to.
would have been able to get that. But what is it that makes your elections coming up tomorrow significant? Why should anybody be concerned about your elections?
I think Umaru should answer because he has to leave earlier.
Yes.
I just want to add on what my president to be said about the, a major problem in transport sector is we don't have regulatory agency that can regulate the operation of the transport sector in Nigeria. We have these stakeholders are many, but we don't have a single regulatory agency. That is why we are advocating to have National Transport Commission. Once we have a regulatory body that can regulate the operation and all the movement of transport and others, so definitely we will come over the problem that you are talking about now, the issue of tankers.
What is the Road Safety Corps doing, for instance?
That's it. They are not a regulatory body. Road safety are not a regulatory body.
No. I imagine, for instance, that the traffic code is part of regulation. I imagine also that the regulations issued from time to time by the Road Safety Corps would also amount to regulation.
What I'm saying.
So if you say, let me give you an example. If you say on a particular highway, the axial load for it cannot be above a certain tonnage, that is regulation. If you say for you to, first of all, we know that it is unlawful for you as a driver, a certified, qualified driver, to hand over your vehicle to an apprentice to drive, because that apprentice has not been certified. It is there in the book. So why would we require a commission for this purpose?
But the enforcement, they are not enforcing all the laws set on this thing.
Okay, Umar, just before we let you go, just speak to us basically on, of course, you are vying, you are the deputy, presidential candidate. Yes, can you speak to us about your manifesto, what you hope to do, and take along with it, if SIOTA has been able to bridge, the gaps in the transport sector so far, because within the manifesto of your presidential candidate, he said that the aim is to present a SIOTA that is a game changer and that will reposition transportation sector within global best practices. So can you speak to us some of the issues that you hope to present in your manifesto?
Well, as a deputy, I don't have much role to play, but however, I will assist my president to carry out his own duty as a president for the SIOTA. In terms of registration drive, membership drive, synergy between sisters organizations or transport organizations, and how to bring up back the glory of the SIOTA back to the promised land. Because as I'm talking to you now, we have membership drive is only 1,200 or 1,000, less than 1,500 members in the whole nation. So we are looking at how to drive our membership so that everyone know what is meant by SIOTA or the punch. How do I put it? The road is going to take by SIOTA. All the transport sectors. That's all the modes, such as road, rail, pipeline, and other modes of transport in Nigeria.
Are you a transportant?
Yeah.
Where? What do you do?
Roads.
Road.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Apparently, transport administration covers the various modes for transportation. But is this the first elections that SIOTA is having?
No. This is the second. This is the second election.
So, tell us about the frequency of your elections and the tenure of office of office holders.
Okay, SIOTA has the tenure is 2 years. So every 2 years there will be an election. That's what the act says. Yes.
Okay, so again, I would just ask Umar to give us your message, because you must leave now. Sorry, we have kept you beyond the time you asked. So what's your message now to your members? What are the vision and the mission that your team, to be led by your president if he gets elected, have for the SIOTA as an institute?
My message is we are appealing to the members of SIOTA. They should vote for our team because we have intention to bring a formidable team to drive SIOTA into the promised land, because we have a lot of challenges that we want to address when we come on board. But our members, we are proud to have them because they are real professional transport managers. So we are appealing to them. They should vote for us, and they will see the change, rapid change within 6 months. We will change the narrative of the SIOTA in Nigeria.
Okay, Umar Iya, SIOTA Deputy Presidential Candidate for the elections coming up tomorrow. We'd like to thank you for being part of our conversation. So we'll sign you off now, but still retain Prince Shegun Abayendo and Mrs. Ifoma Oji. Prince Abayendo, why do you want to be president of SIOTA?
I want to be president of SIOTA because I can add value, because I have the corporate experience to be able to take SIOTA to the next phase. What do I mean? Our organization currently maintains and runs office in 26 states. We tend to leverage on that and bring in enough formidable membership across these 26 states where we are currently in, and by extension, the next few states to make 36 states. I'm also running because if I could do what I have done for my organization in the private sector, I should be able to do much more for an institute that is well recognized like ours, SIOTA. And I've also been, my pedigree, I've also run a training and capacity building outfit. And if you look at all that SIOTA represents, it's about training, it's about professionalization, it's about skill, it's about retooling. And that is exactly what I have been doing, and I want to bring that to bear. And of course, when it comes, SIOTA needs what I call stakeholder management. We've not managed all the stakeholders in transport sector enough, and that's what that's my greatest strength in managing stakeholders. We want to leverage on that and be able to take SIOTA to that and be able to fit that it requires. And because we are also coming from the private sector, we want to kind of bring in all the ideals of how we operate. For example, we're looking at restructuring the institute in such a way that we can have good structures, we can have good processes, we can have good manuals, we can have all the operating manuals that we need to run with and fly, so to say. Then, of course, we're also looking at putting together within 1 month a 10-year strategic plan for SIOTA, with which we're going to set the vision and work the vision, so to say, so that in another, whoever is coming will have seen what we have done and will be able to go from there to that next phase. But more importantly, why I am running is the passion to want to effect change, is the passion to want to really put us at that place that we are supposed to be. Sincerely, I have said it in my manifesto, Currently, we have 1,200. Before the next year runs out, we should be able to have 5 to 10,000. We have all it takes to make that happen. And what does it take? Is for us to present SIOTA in such a way that everybody will feel that I have a lot to gain, I have a lot to benefit. We have not done marketing of what we have. What we have is much more than what we are professing at the moment. We need to reach out to virtually everybody, because everybody needs transport. We ought to have had strategic partnership with Office of the Head of Service, for example, with which whoever has obtained our certificate will be duly recognized, just like if you have your NICAN certification, you'll be recognized. We've not been doing much in this regard. We want to really aggressively pursue all of this and make it happen. Even the employer association, we want to also reach out to them that this is our certification, this is our curriculum, this is the content, this is what we are giving out, and these are the benefits if you employ somebody from us. By the time we're able to present this, people who even do not have money, they wouldn't mind taking a loan to take our courses because they know what they will gain at the end of the day. And that is exactly what we are coming up with.
Okay, part of what you also say you will do if you get elected as the president of your institute is to reposition the institute to be a global template. And with the membership strength of, just under 1,500, I'm wondering where you hope to get the financial muscle to achieve that within the time frame you have indicated.
For example, next year, by the grace of God, I will be presenting 1 billion naira budget. It has never happened, but we are ambitious and we are bold, aggressive, and determined. We are bad. What that means simply is this: I've done my calculation with ability to bring in membership of 5,000. That will give us 500 million already. And we are going to also set up what I call SIOTA Consult, who will be consulting for different organizations, and they will earn money through that with the SIOTA Consult. Like some of the issues you mentioned, the Weighbridge system, for example, we want to take it on and consult for both Federal Ministry of Works and Housing on why this should happen just like yesterday, why Weighbridge system should be activated as quickly as possible to bring about stoppage of all of these accidents as a result of overloading and what have you. We are going to collaborate with the likes of road safety and bring all the things in the regulation that have not been touched. We want to also activate them. These are some of our plans. Then we are also going to collaborate with all state government. Why do I say so? Issues of licensing is a residual matter. Issues of driver's license, vehicle license is a state matter. But of course, not all the states are at par. Why are they not at par? That's where we want to come in. For example, I can say for Abuja, Lagos are leading in terms of certification and in terms of driver's testing. So we want to, as much as possible, do the advocacy and ensure virtually all the states will be able to key in. The thing is, if you are licensed in a state that are not following due process, that will not stop you from coming to states where they are doing it right. And before you know it, accidents happen, a lot happen. Even it also affects security and safety. Some are not well licensed. Some obtain documents that are not genuine. And when we are now trying to trace them, having committed an offense or infraction, we are not able to trace them. Can't we deploy technology in making sure that all of these things are seamless? I want to give kudos to what road safety is currently doing. They want to have a verification platform with which, if you are in Ondo State, you can verify the documentation of a particular vehicle from any state. But that will really speak volume, and that will be the game changer in motor vehicle administration. We want to be part of the advocacy. We want to partner with them and ensure that Nigerians get the value they are supposed to get as far as what government should do for them on security and safety. So we believe we have all it takes to engender this very change we are talking about.
You said that your team, if you get elected, the elections this weekend of your institute, that you will be bad. Yeah, that's almost reminds one of Michael Jackson. You are bad, you are bad. And that acronym stands for bold, aggressive, and determined.
Yes, sir.
So you are bad, man.
Okay.
But I mean, again, more seriously, because you've been touching on some very significant aspects, and I would like Mrs. Oji to also weigh in on this in terms of the niche for the institute. Because when you say transport administration, it's a whole range, it's a whole range of issues. For instance, we have transport companies now, more formalized. You also have the somewhat disorganized, except of course in terms of their capacity to unionize. I'm talking about some of the road transport workers every time having fights and clashes in their parks. So, what would be the focus in your membership drive? Is it any and all?
Okay, thank you for that question. Actually, in our membership drive, it will not be any and all. It can also be, to some extent, if you are under a union. And we begin from the people that are the drivers of those unions. And when the other people under them begin to see that these drivers of these unions have changed their mindset, when they've come on board, they begin to see a change. You see that every other person under them wants to aspire to be like them. So it can actually be both. It can be, for in the beginning, just the drivers of these unions, the drivers of these transport companies, drivers, when I mean drivers, the leaders of these drivers of these transport companies. Then when the people underneath, when you're a leader, you are making people aspire to be like you. All right. So if they see that there's a change of mindset, these clashes you're talking about, the leaders once did that. So they saw their leaders before them do that. And that's why they can accept people doing that. They have factions, and then they even when they have their so-called elections, it's a bloodbath. But when they begin to see that this thing can be done differently, there's another angle to transportation other than just being an aboro in quotes. The other people coming under them begin to see that there's a change, and then by that would have changed the narrative of transportation in Nigeria.
Let me ask you a question that relates to your area of expertise, which is inspection. And I would like you to speak to us a little more about the value that has added in terms of transport administration and checking of underhand practices and all that. I know it's part of the innovation that your president, hopefully to be, would want to inject. How impactful has that been?
Okay, thank you. The man seated here to be the president of SIOTA had the temerity and the determination to bring a global accepted practice into Nigeria when nobody really understood it. But our neighboring countries like Ethiopia were already doing it. Ghana, they were already doing it. This thing has been there in them those days. Before now, in the 60s, 70s, our transporters had to go for tests, like an MOT test. And all of a sudden, we stopped them. We didn't see them anymore. And having had a stint abroad, he saw that these things are what works. You are not on the road except you are certified to be on the road. Your car is certified to be on the road. And that's what we have brought to Nigeria. And we've been at it for about 10 years. So it has really impacted. We are in 26 states doing what is supposed to be done. And what
do you do?
Okay, we do vehicle inspection. We check the vehicle to make sure that it's roadworthy. It's a prerequisite for you getting your roadworthiness certificate. So when these vehicles are checked, the handbrakes are checked, the emission, the suspension, the ball joints, everything that the tires, everything that will make sure that on the road you have done your own part. And then also it helps the driver be confident on the road, that my car is perfect and I'm going on the road. So it has really impacted a lot. We've had testimonies of people, when we initially started in Abuja, some people did not understand it. And we had somebody come finally when he was enforced by the vehicle inspection officers, and he came into our office, and when the thing was done, he was very excited. He said he traveled, and then when he went to do it and came back and he passed, he traveled and he came back to give a testimony. He said that all along my mechanics have been doing testing everywhere, nothing, they didn't really find this, but this is computerized. It is not manual. The computer tells you what and what you have to change, what and what you have to do, whether your car meets up to the standard that has been set for these things, and then you are certified roadworthy. And the man was very excited. He now went and started singing the song of vehicle inspection.
Is it every car that the computer can
Yes, sir. Every
car that the computer can, including the analog ones.
Every car, sir.
Every car. In the 60s, to start a lorry, there was this tuner that something that looked like where that you had to use to wind the engine to start. I don't see any of those vehicles. One of those trucks there were Bedford. Of course, 911 came later. Yes. There was one of them, Trader. Yes. One truck called Trader like this.
In Lagos, we used to call it Bolekaja.
Yeah, that was Bedford. Trader was.
Anyway, let me just ask again. We just have a few minutes, to round off. Beyond the inspection, computerized inspection, which you have introduced, what other measure? Because if you go on social media, you see some robotic machines, also, controlling, some form of movement on the roads. You see controlling vehicles where there's a zebra crossing, for instance, such innovation.
Before I go into that innovation, let me talk about the drivers. For us to have orderliness on the road, the drivers too must be well trained, and they must also be able to do what they are supposed to do. But we cannot jump to robotics from day one. It's there, but it's something that can be explored in the future. But our concern and our satisfaction will be that before you get your driver's license, you have studied the highway code, you have a good understanding of what your rights are and what your rights your do's and don'ts. That's supposed to be done. Then after that, you should take practical tests before you can be licensed. We want to ensure that this is perfectly institutionalized.
Your message for tomorrow, we've run out, just in 30 seconds.
Vote somebody who is articulate. Vote somebody who can take SIOTA to that next phase. Vote somebody who has that network and reach to be able to make things happen. And vote somebody who within 1 year will drive our membership strength to more than 10,000. Thank you.
All right, Kingsley.
All right. On that note, we would like to appreciate Prince Segun Ochuko Obayendo, Group Managing Director of Temple Group Limited and pioneer of the computerized vehicle inspection company. We also like to appreciate Mrs. Ifeoma Orji, who is Managing Director of Temple SYC Inspection. Thank you for being our guests on Good Morning Nigeria today. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. We'll take a short break now.
What we face mostly now are flashes of cowardly attacks from the rump of groups that have been routed in one location or the other, moving to another to give the false impression that they are still strong. Our ultimate goal is to eliminate them altogether and restore total and lasting peace over every inch of the Nigerian soil. Sounding tall, but take it home. We are determined to ensure that every inch of the Nigerian soil is safe. That determination is there. The order has been given. But we shall continue to protect the lives and property of Nigerians and foreigners in our midst. We shall continue to work for the peace of the nation and deter elements that constitute threats to the people. We shall bear the full powers of the government to secure every inch of our land. We shall not rest until peace is fully restored to Nigeria.
This message is brought to you from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Nigerians, elections are here again. Let us shun violence. Let us play the game according to the rules. Do not be a thug. Say no to violence. Let's rise and defeat violence, crime, and sabotage against the peace of our nation. Nigeria is the only country we have. We must do everything to keep it united. We must avoid any act that promotes hate and disintegration. Say no to separatist movement, terrorism, fake news, hate speech, religious bigotry, and any act that tends to divide us as a nation. Watch out for strange gatherings and suspicious movements. Restrict access to sensitive documents and data, the disclosure of which may damage national security. Educate your staff and family, particularly on measures to safeguard information and report security breaches. Apply relevant legal security guidelines to protect yourself and your neighbors. Due to misinformation and wrong choices, some idle persons resort to vices in their greed to get rich quick. They resort to kidnapping, killings for rituals, and other heinous crimes. Avoid wrong use of the social media. Before you broadcast that false message, think twice. Ask whether it will promote peace or violence. For safety at home, still be security conscious. Educate your household on safety tips. Report all suspicious movements and persons to the security agencies nearest to you. Be a good citizen. Be patriotic. To pass security information, please call 0813-222-2105, 0915-339-1309, 0908-837-3514, or send a mail to dsspr@dss.gov.ng. This message is from the Department of State Services, DSS.
To every politician, as the campaigns gain momentum and passions begin to rise, remember, the errors of your opponents do not make you a success. Do not run down your opponent and inflame passions to violence between and among your supporters. What counts is what you plan to do for the electorate and how you intend to relieve their sufferings and bring succor. Nigeria is in dire need of patriotic leaders at all levels, leaders who will make national development their priority. Concentrate on telling the electorate what you intend to do when you get into office. Focus on making your vision clear to the electorate. Don't engage in verbal abuses, fake news, or speeches. Keep dealing with issues that will bring progress. You win the hearts and minds of the people by being above board, by being civil, patriotic, and showing empathy. Let's join hands to make the 2023 elections peaceful. A message from the National Orientation Agency.
Dialogue, empathy, love, and unity. These are vital components of nation building.
For all to be well, we appeal that we should refrain from volatile, provocative, inciting messages and language.
Let's build and not destroy.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria. We're live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We did say that we're having two topics for conversation this morning. We're done with one. The second one is just about to kick off, and we already have guests who are here with us in the studios. And it's about the premiere of a movie titled Traditions. Earlier we were saying Tradition, but now we know that the correct title of the movie is Traditions. So with us here in the studios to talk about the movie Traditions, let's welcome Maimuna Abaji Yahaya, who is movie producer. We're glad to have you this morning.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
All right. Also here with us in the studios is Adejo Ibrahim, Artistic Director. Adejo, morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning.
That's right. Okay.
Okay, yeah. So let me start with Maimuna. What is Traditions all about?
The movie Traditions is about the traditions of our people. Every family has a tradition. Every locality, every ethnic group has a tradition. And so we decided to pull together the traditions of different native using the Igala culture as a case study. We're looking at the harmful traditional widowhood practices in our culture, in our environment, and how it affects women and children.
So why do you think it should be put in a movie?
We decided to put it in a movie because we needed to talk about it and reorientate people to have a change of mind and change the narrative. The culture has been handed over from generation to generation. It's been adulterated and it has evolved over time. And we're asking, what does tradition do to us? Does it tell us to just shut down our minds and follow through rules after rules without actually questioning it? What we practiced 30 years ago is irrelevant today. If you now deprive women who are supposed to be suffering and mourning the loss of their loved ones, and then you deprive them of everything, from 1 minute, you change their story, the narrative from grace to grass. You just change their story. And so we thought, let's talk about it. Let's deal with this issue. And it's based on my experiences from counseling and meeting people who have suffered these harmful traditional practices. And we think that it should be eliminated. It should be tampered with justice. Some things should not be done, not this generation.
How bring in the artistic director? How challenging was it producing this movie?
Challenging. It was challenging, but it was fun. It was interesting because we needed to actualize the vision. We needed to bring to life from book in a particular place. We had to bring in the people from Kogi State to Benin Republic for the shoot. We found a locality that looks exactly like Kogi State. And so we transported people from a place down. Some of them were professionals and others were not, because we needed to use the actual dancers, the singers who understand.
Because it's not easy casting the leads. And are your leads victims, or they just
but third-party experience? They have mothers who had gone through the same situation. They had aunties who have gone through the same situation. So replicating it and reproducing it or reenacting it was easy for them. And then we had professionals that were right for the roles.
So they're just like typecast. So you're just like typecasting the lead.
No. We chose actors who had the skills, who had the ability to interpret the roles.
From an artistic point of view, tell us what the issues were in getting this together.
Okay, one thing that this movie does is that Traditions is an advocacy movie. Advocacy in the sense that it deals with a very challenging developmentally. Today is International Day for Health Revision Act, the VAP law and all that. So we thought that it's about time we did movies in this country that address significant and strategic challenges that women, children, and of course the vulnerable faces. So Traditions is not the conventional movie, so to say. It's an advocacy movie. It's a movie that focuses essentially on giving a voice to the vulnerable in society. And so looking at, making movie functional, making movie relevant to development, making movie not for the sake of making movie is one of the reasons why we chose to do, something along this line. And it's one of the things that, is what makes us confident to say that, look, let us take this message out. Let's let people watch this movie and be able to make informed decision when it comes to harmful traditional practices. Culture is supposed to be dynamic. Culture is supposed to add to society. Culture is supposed to be a product that you can market internationally if properly packaged. So anchoring the story on the pedestal of Igala tradition This is a movie where you had, a lot of Yoruba actors. Ayo Mogaji, who played a lead, is a Yoruba woman, and it was interesting to see her speak Igala, and she enjoyed it. She was singing Igala songs, and she said, "Oh, this is interesting." Do not forget that most of the time, movies in Nigeria are usually, kind of promo for the three major languages. You have Yoruba, Igbo, and Hausa. How about the subcultures? Cultures like the Nupes, the Igalas, and all that. They have a lot of, cultural, aesthetics that can also be promoted if properly packaged. And that's one thing we have done with this movie.
Okay, Maimuna, the issue of widowhood, practice, can be very controversial, from one ethnic tribe to the other. In some places, it's a no-go area. And he has just told us that this is an advocacy movie. So who are you directing your message to precisely?
Our message in traditions is directed at family units, individuals, men and women who perpetuate this act, who actually enforce some of these things when people lose their loved ones. The essence is for them to know that we can redirect our actions. We can reinvent this thing. We can actually offer love in place of hate and anger. Rather than eliminate these people from the society or even push them away from their families, integrate them, love them, show them love, and then they will go through the mourning stage peacefully, nicely, and then there will be no after effect of discordance when they are done. So our story is redirected at people who perpetrate this act against women.
And to add to this, don't forget that African society is mostly patriarchal. And that means that the alpha male dominant mentality is strategic to most African culture and tradition. So, when you have that kind of, society, for you to be able to, protect women, girl child,
you must get the buy-in.
Yes, you need to address the issue of patriarchy, because, this is what is used as justification for some of the harmful traditional practices that you see. So when men gather, it's like men making policies, that affect the lives of women. If you say, for instance, a woman is mourning her husband, who determines what the mourning period should be? Who determines what the mourning rituals should be? It's the men. And if you continue to do that, you get to a level where it becomes an acceptable value in society. And that's why you see issue of domestic violence, issue of the rise in rape cases and all that. It's all around patriarchy as a philosophy, that drives the way social relationship is contracted in some African culture.
Well, since we're looking forward to the premiere, and you're talking about harmful widowhood practices. Could you let our viewers into any one of the practices that the movie touches on?
Okay, I will take an instance from Kogi State, my place. When a man dies, the wife is made to take an oath, swearing to remain emotionless. Don't love again. Don't have anything to do with any man. Just focus on your children and grow. There is a practice
regardless of
forever. There is a practice where they lie the woman down in the process of swearing the oath. They lie the woman down beside a pistol, and you swear an oath to say, "From today I become like wood." But when it's the woman that dies, the night of her passing, the husband is encouraged to sleep with a virgin, because her spirit will come back to torment him, they say. So
if he doesn't sleep with a virgin.
No. If he sleeps alone, yes. If he sleeps alone without making love to another woman that night, the wife's soul and spirit will come haunting him for life. And therefore, he's encouraged to go out and continue to sleep with other women. That is a practice.
What part?
And we're saying it is not right. So let's see how we can teach people to change this kind of practices. There are instances where a woman dies and then a man dies in a family and then the wife is asked to marry the brother.
Inherit your wife.
She is inherited. Whether she likes it or not, whether she likes the person or not, she's meant to marry the husband's brother.
Yeah, that's fairly common, you know.
That's another one. Then there are instances where when the man dies, she's chased out of the house without any claim to anything she and the man built together. She's thrown out in the open with her kids to fend for herself.
I'm sorry to interject.
Yes, please.
And I think that, you know, movies of this nature, Claire, they're useful in advocacy, as has been indicated.
Impactful.
But you also know that occasionally you can come across some very stubborn women who would stand up to this challenge. There's a case in Lagos. I mean, I'm fairly familiar with this. The woman lost her husband, and of course, young children. And then the next thing, family members were all around to say, look, leave the house, X, Y, Z. And the woman put her foot down. That no problem, you people come, all of us will go into the grave. We have one grave already for my husband, but all of you, including me, not me, that's the woman saying this. They said they will enter the same grave.
Yes.
First time they tried it, it didn't work. Second time, they tried to get her. And of course, the third time they came, they got some persons to roughen them up, and that was the end.
That's Lagos.
No, I'm saying that in an urban center. Urban center.
Yeah.
I don't want to see any of you step into my house. Yeah. I built this house with my husband and our children. You were saying that I should leave this house to be on the street, so I would then be. I mean, when
I think women are beginning. Yes, but I still think that women are beginning. The awareness is beginning to gain ground, and women are beginning to know their rights. Of course, thanks to people like you who come up with advocacies like this. But again, what the example Kingsley cited would also depend upon the contractual basis of the marriage.
Absolutely.
Some people just believe once you do perform the traditional ceremony, that does it. If you find yourself in that situation, then you have to contend with this. But if you follow the legal way, or what they call the white way.
Yes. No. I'm sorry. Well, let's clarify this. I mean, discussing family law here. Yeah. Well, if any marriage that you contract, whether customary marriage, or Islamic or native law and custom, or you contract it under the act, the marriage is valid.
Yes, absolutely.
It's valid.
Yes.
I understand what you are saying, that, okay, but some people will say so-called white wedding, where you go, of course, to the registry, and that will be marriage under the act. But if it doesn't mean that the marriage contracted under customary law, Islamic or native law and custom, it's invalid. Invalid.
It's most
valid. It doesn't invalidate it. But again, it will interest you. It will interest you to know that the people who actually execute some of these harmful practices are women themselves. If you watch this movie, the people championing are women because they believe in it. So I think the advocacy, first and foremost, should start from changing the mindset and empowering
of the enforcers.
The women.
So what in shooting this movie, what challenge did you have in addressing the enforcers?
It's in the movie. We tried to change the narrative. We had the lead actress, the woman, stand up to them. But even in standing up to them, she was subjugated, she was oppressed, and she kept fighting till the end. So that's the sense of the movie. That's what we want people to know, that some of these things are not sacrosanct. You can fight it. You can discuss it. You can negotiate your way out of it. But we need to change the narrative. We need to reorientate the men and the women at the same time.
Okay, you mentioned Ayo Mogaji. I know Ayo from way back.
Oh yes,
we've done things together way back, so I know the strength of her interpretation. I know she's has good command of the English and all that. So that's one big name that you expected to boss, this film for you. Who are the other names?
We have Ayo Mogaji, like you said. Very strong actor. She delivered the character. At some point on set, we stood up to give her a standing ovation because she could sing the song, sing Igala songs, dance in Igala, and then speak our language effectively. She brought the act to book. Then we had Maureen Solomon Okereke. We had Cynthia Okereke. We had Tommy Roland. It's a combination of actors from
and also
every facet.
Quite popular too.
Yes, I know. Of course,
local style.
Yes, I know.
The Gala people love me a lot. They know me. Yes. So
okay.
When is the premiere?
27th, this 27th. Sunday, 27th of November, 2022 at the International Conference Center, 3 p.m.
International Conference Center in Cotonou or where?
No, what kind of premiere? What kind of premiere is this?
International Conference Center in Abuja. We're here in Abuja.
So, are we going to see? Is it going to be red carpet?
We have red carpet. We will have beautiful music from the Nigerian Navy Band.
We'll be there.
Perform,
we
and then we have traditional performers from the Arts and Council. That we come to perform for us.
And somebody is going to speak on some of the topics because it's a very topical movie. Yes. We also want to make it. Somebody will talk about harmful traditional widowhood practices. We are going to have a lot of civil society.
We will even have testimonials from people who have experienced it.
Yes. Is there any innovation, in terms of artistic, inclusion now that makes this movie different from the regular movie we watch? Because usually you see it's the same format, it's the same style.
No, this is different.
You need to come and see it. It's different.
Color.
Yes.
The costume is wow. When I mean, this is a movie where we had a tailor on set. Ayo Mogaji, close to 60 scenes, did not repeat a costume. 60. So if there's a need for an actor to wear a costume and it's not there, we had a tailor standby. We'll get the material and the measure and sew right there on set.
Aesthetically, it is beautiful. You need to
a lot of music,
together.
Dance,
is
in this movie.
It's quite interesting. I mean, as I said, this is something to look forward to. But my colleague Claire raises a point. Tell us something about the subtitles, because sometimes you confront some subtitles for certain things, and then you're just wondering.
I'm telling you.
We have one of the lead actors was a scriptwriter who was documenting everything that was happening to her. The essence of documenting is to preserve for posterity, because culture, as we say, and traditions are handed down from generation to generation, and over time they are watered down. So the essence is to document everything for posterity, and that's what this movie is.
I know you're talking about subtitling. Yes, we were very meticulous this time. I was there. I'm an Igala man. He is an Igala person. So what we did was that we ensured that we translate meaning, because most times when you see wrong subtitles, when you translate, you directly. What we did is to transliterate.
Yes.
That's you convey meaning. That is how it's done professionally.
Okay.
So most of the time when you see wrong titles, it's because they are translating. But I know it's my area. I am a theater artist, and of course over the years I'm also a scriptwriter. I publish plays. So when you convey meaning, you don't translate. That's one thing we have done on this set. So if you are watching the movie, whether you are Igala, non-Igala, you will be sure to get the meaning first and foremost.
Beyond the correctional message embedded in this, are you also looking forward to any form of recognition beyond our shores? Does it meet such standards?
Oh yes, certainly. We're going for film festivals. We're entering it for film festivals because we think we can export this. We can export the culture of our people, and we've done good job with this. It was directed by Paul Igwe. Paul Igwe is a veteran director. He's renowned and he's good with what he does. And this is good. You need to see it to
You
understand.
want to talk about the cost of this movie? That's why I'm giving you. That's why I'm giving you the option. Either talk or decline.
Well, we would shy away from talking about the cost.
Okay.
But did you get support? Did you get any financial support from anywhere?
No.
Unfortunately, no.
Unfortunately, no.
All right. So you wait for the box office to make your hit. That's what it will be.
That sounds like what we would expect.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. So on that note, we'd like to thank our guests who've been with us this morning on the set. I'm exhausted with questions, so then we move on to other issues. Since it's a premiere, there's very little more you can get, so that you don't overexpose the movie. Maimuna Abaji, Adejo Ibrahim, thank you very much for focusing on the critical aspect of our culture.
All
right.
We'll get to see the premiere and see the scripting, see if you have embedded any form of suspense, not like the ones we will see and then from A we know the end point.
So go to the premiere.
Yes, that's it. I said, so go to the
Nothing more to say.
Nothing more to say. All right, Kingsley, you signed off.
Yeah, you signed off.
All right, so that's it for us on Good Morning Nigeria for today and for this week. We'd like to thank you, all of you who's, of course, made Good Morning Nigeria your breakfast program. And also asking you not to forget to be in our campaign against rape and rapists. On Monday, by God's grace, we'll be here once again. I am Claire Adilabu Abdul Razak. From all of us, have a good weekend.
I'm Kingsley Osadolo. Enjoy your weekend.
Away. You can watch NTA International live on your TV, computer, iPad, tablet, and phone. Log on visiontv.co.uk and click on Entertainment, then NTAI. You can also download the iOS or Android app on your mobile devices to watch NTA International on the go, anywhere in the world. NTA International, your window to the world.
Latest entrant, latest technology. Welcome to Intel 4G LTE Advanced and experience super fast internet access today. Visit intel.com.ng or any of our stores in Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt to get started. Intel. Live more.
This is the moment we've been waiting. It's time to rise up, do it again. Africa, do your dance now. God, do your winning dance now. So we never lose it again. We can rise up, yes, we gon' rise up. Africa rise up. Yeah. Africa rise up. Yes, we gon' rise up. Africa rise up.
Our pastors, our imams, in every church, in every mosque, please realize that in the course of praying for peaceful and transparent elections, we all have duties beyond prayers. If we want a stable society before, during, and after the elections, what should you be saying to those that worship with you? All Sundays and all Fridays, you are saddled with the responsibility of bringing up good generations. It is therefore your duty to both man and God to ensure peace all the time, no matter about elections alone. People talk to people and people listen. Talk to your followers. Make them listen to ensure peaceful 2023 elections. This message is from the National Orientation Agency.